Hello everybody and welcome back to another My Porch Prints tutorials. This is Kyra and today is Monday, November 24th, which is the second day of our 7 days of Christmas event that we're having all week long, where every day this week we are going to be releasing videos, giving away freebies, having deals in our Etsy shop. It's a whole big event that's going to be a lot of fun. If you missed it, last Saturday we did put out a video talking about all of the details of this event, so I will have that linked down below in case you want to catch up on everything that's going on. But essentially today's video we are going to be making some mini books that match our Christmas cottage collection and go with the journal that I showed how to make in yesterday's video on Sunday, November 23rd. So if you want to see how this journal was made, go check that video out if you haven't already. But for today's video we're going to be making these little charms with these little mini books, which are a freebie that we are giving away, and you can find that link down in the description box of today's video. So to start, go ahead and grab those freebies and print them out. I printed out the covers on cardstock, and then all of the pages are printed just on regular paper, all right? And you don't need to print anything on the back of these, just, you know, one and done kind of thing, a really quick, simple project. And then we're going to cut all of these out and begin assembling. So here you can see that I went ahead and cut out my covers, and then there are 4 sets of pages here, and they're all connected when you cut them out, so you'll have to cut them along these lines to give you 3 strips. And don't worry if you get the strips kind of like mixed up or something like that. There's not a specific order, everything's meant to match one another, so don't worry too much about that. All right. So to start here, we're going to begin with our covers. So folding the covers here, you're going to fold them in half. There's a line here to kind of show you where to fold. So just fold it like this. You want the white on the inside when you fold it. All right. And then I'm going to be using a bone folder to help me get really good solid creases. You want these to be nice and flat. So go ahead and give it a good crease, and then we're going to add glue to the inside and glue it shut. And this just adds some stability to the book, gives it a nice inside and outside cover here. And then we're going to fold along the lines on either side of the spine here. You can see them just like this. So go ahead and fold along those lines. Again, we want to fold them sort of inward like this and give them some good creases. Try to keep things as straight as you can, otherwise your mini book will be a little crooked. And there you go, really quick, easy little mini book cover. So let's go ahead and move on over to the pages. So grab one of your first 3 strips here, and what we're going to do is do an accordion fold. So start with the first page, all right? So just make sure they're right side up, and then pick the page on the far left, and you're gonna fold it in. And then continue folding along the lines between each page, just going back and forth, and you'll know you did it right if when you're done, you can see the blank like white covers on the front and back, all right? So the images should be on the inside of your fold. And then when you open it, it should look something like this when you lay it down like this. So next what we're going to do is, after you've done that to your 3 different strips here, we're going to add glue to these sections right in the middle of our accordion fold. And we're going to fold them closed, and that's going to create our little pages that kind of flip back to back, just like this. All right, so make sure to keep the glue in the center. You don't want any on the outside of these strips yet, okay? So just on the inside panels like this. And what this does is basically gives you 3 little mini signatures that are going to make up the entirety of your little mini book. So what we're going to do is actually connect each of these signatures back to make one full book here. And again, you can choose which order you want them to be in. It's up to you. It doesn't really matter, so just put them in any order you like. And then we're going to take our glue again, and we're going to glue the back panel of our first signature, whichever one you choose, onto the front panel of the second signature. So you're just sandwiching these together just like this. Let's go ahead and glue them again. Try your best to keep things kind of straight. And there you go. Now you've got one large signature. So we're going to do that one more time with the third strip that we have here. Same thing. adding glue to the back of our panel, and then gluing our final signature onto our train of signatures we're making here. All right, so go ahead and glue that in place, give it a moment to dry, and then you should have one complete piece here. All right, and we're going to glue this into the covers of our mini book. Sometimes it helps to also flip through the pages before they dry completely. I find that the glue kind of squeezes out and sometimes glues my pages together. So go ahead and make sure you do one quick little flip through. Make sure none of your pages are stuck together that you don't want stuck together. All right, so to add these to the cover, the pages are slightly smaller than the covers themselves. So I like to add glue to the front and back panels of my pages instead of inside the book itself, just so that everything fits nicely and I'm not getting glue in unnecessary places. So we're gonna add glue to the panel and then just glue this front page down to the inside of our front cover. Again, make sure that nothing is upside down, and you don't want to get any glue on the spine. And part of the reason for that is based on how I'm going to show you how to turn these into charms. If you have glue, like if you glued the pages down to the spine, some of those methods won't work. Also, one of those methods you'll need to do before you add the pages in if you want it to be easier, and I'll show you in a little bit what I'm talking about, but I would say watch the whole video before you actually assemble your mini books, and that way you can kind of pick which method works best for you. And I've seen people use these in a variety of ways. Sometimes people just have like little mini bookshelves and they collect mini books. Some people turn them into Christmas tree ornaments, or they use them to decorate their journal like what I'm doing today. I've even seen people make them into earrings, which I think is really cute. So if you're looking for some fun holiday earrings, you could use these mini books. They're really lightweight. So I'm thinking of doing that with some of mine later on this year. But now that we have our mini books assembled, I'm going to show you a couple different methods for how to turn them into charms, because I know not everybody has the same hardware available to them. So I'm going to show you 4 different ideas, one for each of the freebie mini books that we gave away today. So let's go ahead and start with the first one here. So this is the one that I would recommend doing before you stick your pages in. So essentially you're going to add a hole to the top of your spine. You could also add it to the back cover too. If you've already added pages in, that would work as well. It just kind of depends on how you want them to dangle. But you're going to see here, I'm going to poke a hole using a tool known as an awl. You could also use a needle and just make a hole in the spine. Now, my problem here is that I went too close to the top and I applied way too much pressure, so I ended up actually ripping the spine here. So if you're doing this, go slow, go a little bit lower from the top of the spine. And if you do it before you add the pages, it's easier to get the right pressure and the right angle. So that's my recommendation. So I'm just gonna poke another hole a little bit lower here and kind of make it work. But so this is a pretty simple method because you just make a hole and then you can add an O-ring to the hole that you made. I would recommend having some needle nose pliers on hand. It makes working with the metal a lot easier. And then you're just gonna add one of those O-rings to the hole that you made and tighten it closed like this. And I like to use 2 rings because it allows the charm to swing in a way that's not so stiff and awkward. So I'm going to use another ring here, using my needle nose pliers to open it up and just add it onto the first one. All right, so this is a pretty basic method. If all you have are O-rings, sometimes people have like old jewelry that they can take the rings off and reuse them if you don't actually have the hardware. Most of this hardware can be picked up at a craft store, and we have it linked in our description box in our Amazon shop if you're looking for O-rings. All right, the next thing I have here is this little eye pin is what it's called. And I think these are usually used for making earrings and things like that. However, I'm going to be using mine as like a secure base for my charm. So I'm going to add some glue along the bottom of the pin, just like this. And then the pages, because we didn't glue them down to the spine, you can actually tug on them a little bit and create an opening in the back of the book like this. And then I'm just going to put the pin right down behind the spine here, behind my pages, and glue it down to the spine itself. And then you can kind of decide how high you want the eye pin to be, if you want it up really high or down really low. It's kind of up to you. And I think that this makes a really good base for earrings in particular. So this is kind of my preferred method when I'm turning mini books into charms. It's pretty simple, pretty stable. So I'm gonna probably use these for most of my stuff in the future. But we have these O-rings kit from Mr. Pen on Amazon. Again, we have it linked down in our Amazon affiliate link, and it's really nice because it comes with a variety of O-rings that you can choose from. So I went ahead and grabbed another 2 to use here, and now I've got another dangle. And again, I like this. It looks pretty clean, pretty professional. So this is one of my favorite methods to use. But if you don't have any, O-rings to use or pins to use, you can also use paper clips, and you can kind of choose which paper clip you want. A smaller paper clip is going to be less noticeable, and it's the same sort of idea here. You're just going to push it down on the spine behind the pages like this, and then you can just kind of push it down until there's a little bit left at the top to hook onto a loop. Or if you have a bulb pin or another paper clip, you can just create like a chain of paper clips, and that works. And you can clip the paper clips onto a page in your journal, or you can like wrap some chain or a string through it and create something to like dangle and hang that way. All right, so you can make use of whatever you want to hang your mini books. And again, you can put this on the back cover as well. It doesn't have to be on the spine. I just like the way the spine looks. And if you have a bulb pin, you can just hook that through. I really like bulb pins. They work really well for a lot of different things, including replacing O-rings if you don't have any of those. And you don't need like needle nose pliers to use them. So again, we have these linked in our Amazon affiliate shop as well. And here's the larger paper clip just for comparison. You can see more of it on the spine, but it honestly doesn't, I feel like, stand out too much. So if all you have is a large silver paper clip, you can still use that the same way, and you can just create, little dangles and chains however you can with whatever you've got. Last but not least, not everybody has hardware, I know, so this method is for people who only have string available. I'm going to be using tweezers, but you could also use a needle and thread that's kind of threaded through that way. So you're going to start from the top of your book down to the bottom, and taking a piece of string, you're going to fold it in half and create like a little loop at the top here. And then using your tweezers, you're going to pull that loop through the spine of your book. So go behind the pages and then just grab it and pull it through like this. And if you're using a needle, you'll just thread the thread through the needle, pull the needle through the top, and then create your loop that way. All right. And then tug it until it's, the length that you like. And then with the ends on the bottom here, depending on how much string you have, you could actually add beads to them and make them into like their own little charms, and that would work really well. Or if you don't have beads, you could just tie them into a knot like this. And you'll want the knot to be large enough that it doesn't pull through the spine of the book. So I went ahead and did a double knot here. And then just be careful not to pull the whole string out like I almost did. And then once it's large enough, it should hold the string in place and keep it from coming out, right? And then I'm just going to take some scissors and cut the ends of my string off, since they're not really large enough to add any kind of like charms or beading to. And then you've got like a little dangle that you can use to hang on your Christmas tree, or again, use it on a mini book. If you have like a really long piece of string, you could hook it around like the spine of your journal, like make a hole in the top of the spine and loop it through that way. So get kind of creative here. But if you don't have hardware, I wanted to still give you an option for hanging your mini books. All right, so those are 4 different methods. So go ahead and choose your favorite. And now we can actually work on creating charm dangles for our spine. So if you followed my last tutorial, you should have a spine that looks something like this. So there is actually a place to like loop chain through if you want to hang them that way, or you can create a hole in the spine of your journal if you have just a flat spine and hang things that way. I'm going to be using a bulb pin today to secure everything in place. So that makes things really easy. And then I've grabbed a variety of little pieces to decorate with. So I have some of these wooden beads that I picked up from the Dollar General, so I'll be using a couple of those today. As well as I have this like little bottle. It's like a little charm that I got from a craft store. These are the ones that I got. And then I also have these cabochons that we have linked in our Amazon affiliate shop from Amazon to make a little charm with. So these are really pretty and handy. And then of course I've got some little Christmas charms, and I have this little almost like a door knocker piece here that you can use to secure everything to the spine of your journal. I ended up not using that today, but that is an option. As well as if you have any like of these little binder rings that are large enough to hook through your spine, you could use that as well. I didn't have any large enough, so my first idea was to actually use some chain and hang them that way, but they ended up being too long, so that's why I went with the bulb pin instead. All right, so I'm not going to show you everything that I do, but I will show you a couple of the ideas I had. So one of the first ones again was to use the bulb pin and like hook it onto a chain, and then you can hook this chain onto any of the clasps that you made from earlier to secure your mini books to your journal. So that's like a really simple method. Something else you can do is use these little eye pins to secure beads to your books. So I just went ahead and took a bulb pin, and then I slipped my little eye pin onto the bulb pin here, just like this. All right, and then I'm going to close that bulb pin so that I don't accidentally poke myself here. And then I'm going to thread the pin part of the eye pin through my bead, just like this, and then the bulb pin keeps the bead from sliding off the end of my pin. And then for the remaining end, I'm going to use my needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to bend it into a loop. And you want to make sure that you bend the loop wide enough so that it doesn't, the bead doesn't slide off. So it might take a little finagling. None of my loops looked perfect, but in the end you can't really see it, or it doesn't really matter very much. So make sure that you just form it as close as you can to a nice little loop here, and that will hold your bead in place. And so from here you can just add your little mini book onto the end of another bulb pin and or an O-ring, whatever you have to use, and hook it onto your bead like this. And for the little mini bottle, you could like write a little message, roll it up and put it inside, or you could fill it with like glitter or something like that. I decided to cut up one of these little like cheap plastic pearl strings that I have that I used for the closure of my book. And I'm going to just snip the little beads off until it fills the bottle and makes it look kind of like, I was thinking sort of like snow or something like that. I just wanted to bring more of the pearls from the closure of my journal to the spine and kind of make the whole thing feel a little more cohesive. So that's what I did with my little bottle here. And then for the cabochon, if you've never used one of these before, I just took the little plastic piece and I traced it onto a Christmas fussy cut from one of our other kits that, was in my scrap drawer. And then I just pressed that down into the frame. And you're going to use a little bead of glue to glue both of the pieces together. And you only need a little bit of glue. I used way too much, so only use a little bit. Otherwise it's going to bloom out the side of the frame here and make a mess. So you only need a little bit, and you want to make sure you're using a glue that dries clear. Okay, and then I was trying to wipe off some of that glue, and my wet wipe was actually way too dry and made more of a mess. So just be really careful and use a little bit of glue. All right, and then you're just going to hook everything together using either O-rings or bulb pins or whatever you have. If you have some charms, you could add like little Christmas charms, like I've got this little gingerbread man, and just build your charms however you want. I decided to do 3 books on my spine, and I wanted them to all be slightly different in size. So I made this one my longest one, so just adding more rings and things like that to extend the length of the chain, or the charm, however you want to think of it. And then this one was kind of my medium length one, and then I had a really short one, or maybe this is the short one and the other one's the medium one. Either way, I had 3 different sizes, and that way they kind of stagger down the spine instead of all bunching up in one big clump that kind of sticks out awkwardly. So that's kind of my fix for that. All right, and then I just added, a couple little charms, one like interesting element to each of them. So like I had this button charm, and then I had the bottle, and then I had the cabochon. And then I feel like the wood beads and the charms in the books make them feel like cohesive pieces. So they're, you know, kind of match one another. And there you go. Now you've got your little mini book charms. So you can add these again to your spine however you want. I just hooked all of these onto one single bulb pin, and then I took that bulb pin and pinned it onto the spine of my book. So pretty simple, quick little tutorial today for your mini books. Of course, you don't have to use them as charms on your journal if you don't want to. There's lots of different ways to use these, and probably several I haven't even thought of. So however you use these or whatever charms you make, I would love to see what you guys come up with or what ideas you have. So if you want to join our Facebook group, if you haven't already, and share pictures of how your little mini books get used or how your charms turned out, I would love to see how everything comes together. Also, don't forget to leave a comment on today's video to be entered to win a $20 coupon to our shop, and we will be announcing that winner on Saturday. So come back Saturday to see if you won, as well as come back every day this week to find new freebies and new videos all week long to celebrate the 7 Days of Christmas event. And head over to our shop today because we're having a 50% off sale on select mini books and fussy cuts. So you can make a whole bunch of mini books for all of your journals, all of your crafts. It's going to be really fun. All right. So I think that is everything for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's tutorial. Bye!